August 1812. Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte, master of Europe, stands on the precipice of ultimate victory. His Grande Armée, a colossal force of over 600,000 men, marches deep into the heart of Tsarist Russia, aiming for Moscow. But what they found there defied history. A city abandoned, and then a fire unlike any witnessed before or since. Not a burning city, but an annihilation. An event so cataclysmic, survivors spoke of a second sun falling from the sky. Was this the scorched earth strategy of the Tsar, or something far more terrifying? And did the forgotten whispers of that day lead Nikola Tesla, a century later, to a discovery that could prove Moscow was ground zero for the world's first nuclear war? Welcome back to the AI show. The year is 1812. Napoleon, having conquered much of Europe, sets his sights on Tsar Alexander I. His ambition is boundless. He assembles the largest army the world has ever seen. French, German, Polish, Italian, a united force of 600,000 men and over 100,000 horses, a moving city of conquest, stretched for miles across the plains. Their destination, Moscow, the ancient heart of Russia. Their march was grueling. The relentless Russian summer, followed by the first chilling hints of autumn, began to thin their ranks not by battle, but by attrition. Disease, exhaustion, desertion. But Napoleon pressed on. Moscow, he believed, was his final prize. It would break the Tsar's will. It would secure his legend. He was unstoppable. Or so he thought. September 14, 1812. After months of relentless marching, Napoleon's Grande Armée finally reached the holy city of Moscow. But there was no heroic resistance, no grand battle at the gates. Only an unsettling silence. The city, usually bustling with over 200,000 inhabitants, was completely deserted. A ghost town. The Tsar's own governor, Fyodor Rostopchin, had ordered the evacuation, leaving behind only the lowest classes, some criminals, and the wounded. It was a macabre, unsettling welcome for the conquerors of Europe. Napoleon and his generals were bewildered. Where was the surrender? Where was the resistance? This wasn't victory, it felt like a trap. The air was thick with unease. And then, as night fell, the first whispers of smoke began to curl through the abandoned streets. Not just ordinary smoke. Something far more sinister was about to ignite. The official history speaks of the Great Fire of Moscow, attributed to Russian saboteurs. But what unfolded that night and in the days that followed was beyond conventional arson. It was an event that shook the very foundations of reality for those who witnessed it. Eyewitness accounts from the time paint a chillingly consistent picture, one that modern science now struggles to reconcile with 19th century technology. These are not modern men with knowledge of atomic weapons. They are describing the indescribable. Consider the words of Colonel Louis de Segur, an aide-de-camp to Napoleon, who described what he saw. Moscow, with its palaces, its treasures, its all, was annihilated. It was a sea of fire which spread in every direction. He spoke of a speed and intensity of flame that consumed everything. But other accounts go even further. Some, whispered in forgotten journals, spoke of a white fire, a celestial heat, that turned stone to dust and created a light brighter than 1,000 suns. One chilling account, often dismissed as folklore but echoing through history, came from a Russian peasant near Moscow who spoke of a great pillar of light, like a second sun, that rose from the city and then fell back down, taking everything with it. A pillar of fire that melted iron and left nothing but a desolate, glass-like landscape in its wake. If these weren't conventional fires, then what was Napoleon truly witnessing? And what kind of scorched earth left such a devastating, unnatural signature? Moscow was no victory. Was a pyre. And for Napoleon, the psychological blow was immense. The great emperor, who had never known true defeat, now found himself retreating from a city he couldn't hold, through a winter that would claim more lives than any battle. The legendary Russian winter descended with a vengeance, its icy grip crushing the morale and bodies of the Grande Army. As the remnants of his army limped through the vast, unforgiving expanse towards Siberia, they were not left in peace. The Russian forces, led by General Mikhail Kutuzov, pursued relentlessly, not with grand battles, but with constant, brutal ambushes, guerrilla warfare in a frozen hellscape. The Grande Army was picked apart, man by freezing man, horse by starving horse. It was a relentless, agonizing chase. The catastrophic retreat from Moscow broke Napoleon. He returned to France a shadow of his former self, his aura of invincibility shattered. Though he would rally for a brief 100 days, his fate was sealed at Waterloo. His final years were spent in exile on the remote, windswept island of St. Helena, a tiny volcanic outcrop in the South Atlantic. It was here, in this crushing isolation, that Napoleon's sanity began to fray. He would pace for hours, reliving the campaign, tormented by what he had witnessed in Moscow. Some historians attribute his erratic behavior to mercury poisoning, but could it have been the lingering psychological scars of a man who saw his empire annihilated by something unnatural? A blast that, for its sheer, blinding power, resonates terrifyingly with events a century later. The official narrative remains: the Great Fire of Moscow was arson. But the eyewitness accounts, the speed of its destruction, the second sun phenomenon, they paint a different picture. A picture of a secret history, an unseen war. Was Napoleon's conquest truly thwarted by winter, or by a weapon so advanced, its true nature was erased from history? Did Moscow in 1812 witness the world's first silent nuclear war? The evidence is there if you know where to look. And on the AI show, we will keep looking. Join us next time as we dive deeper into the hidden past.